or set of twins?
Some ridiculous amount of number, but he's trying to repopulate the planet and/or Mars.
Yeah, this is
10 kids.
10 kids? He's got 10 kids. Yeah. You're talking about the richest man in the world, possibly one of the smartest brains in the world, one of the best trolls in the world, one of the most necessary forces in the world, where the people that are not fans of you, can't stand him. That's enemy to state number one. They don't like the fact that he can just drop $44 billion and to be able to buy Twitter or do anything he's doing. What do you think about Elon Musk?
Man, I love Elon. And I love that he is a man of purpose. And I have so much respect for men of purpose. Most people who get his kind of paycheck whenever he got it in the 90s would have just cashed out, hedonism and bullshit. He decided to risk it all again to try and achieve the most impossible things. That's how you got to where you are. That's how I got to where I am. When you have enough to stop, but you don't stop. For some reason, there's some new mountain to climb. And that is what's beautiful about men as a whole. All of the exploration on the planet, the deep sea, Antarctica, Mount Everest, all of it was a man who had enough and thought, no, I'm going to go anyway. And that's who Elon is. So I have so much respect for him because he doesn't need to do any of the stuff he's doing. And he's adopting the biggest problems in the world and all the headache that comes with it. You're right. All the heat and all the dislike and all the pressure, he's adopting it anyway. And those are the kind of men we need more of. The men who say, you know what? Yeah, I do have enough. It's not about enough.
Who are some guys that you would put in that level with Musk, like Musk?
Well, Musk is Musk, right?
He's the pinnacle, but who else would you put in that space?
I have respect for anyone who's kind of similar. I'm trying to think of people who I idolize and really look up to. Some of them are fighters. Like I always loved Mayweather. I think Mayweather's the best boxer in history.
Really?
Yeah, I liked Mayweather. I was a huge fan.
Best boxer in history.
Yeah.
Ahead of Ali.
Yeah. I mean, Ali's Ali, right? But Mayweather's never lost. He's never lost to anybody. And I liked him because he was so clinical and so precise. And he took his ego out of it and said, I want to have a longer career than everyone else. So I'm going to focus on not getting hit and hitting him. I may not get the knockout. Right? I don't need the knockout. I've won. Just win, clinical, chess. Win, payday. Win, payday. Your fight was boring. 100 bill, whatever. 100 mil, whatever. Yeah, boring. Cool. Next, win. He was really smart. So I like Mayweather. He's someone I've always looked up to and I really respect. That's a really good question. I think that it's kind of difficult now in the world because also a lot of the people who are propagated to the top and perpetuated into absolute global stardom, I'm not sure if all of them have done it through good intentions. We can look at the things we said from Logan earlier, etc. But I think even now, I have the most respect for the common man. I think I have so much respect for the common man. I say it all the time to Tristan. Me and him will have our most in-depth conversations when we're in a S-class on our way to the private jet and we see a street sweeper at 3 a.m. in Romania knowing he's getting $200 a month. And me and T will look at him and go, I respect that. Like, it's just, man, there are so many people out here just living hard lives. And I have so much respect for them. And we can talk about the ones who make it, but there's so many people who don't make it. And that's difficult. And I have so many stories. I don't want to tell any more stories because I can go on forever. But even little things I do, like at buffets, nobody ever compliments the chef at buffets. So whenever I go to a buffet, I try and say, bro, did you cook this? This is great. I did it in Cyprus at some resort. I swear, like I gave him $1 million, smile on his face. He'd never been complimented in 15 years of cooking meatballs. He was the happiest man in the world because he just slaves away for fucking nothing. And I think a lot of people are out here just giving their life force up for nothing in return.
He wanted respect.
He wanted respect, and I gave him a little bit for some meatballs, and I could tell he'd never been complimented in history. Most people would say, hey, where's the plates? So I have respect for the common man, anyone who's out here doing what they have to do. There's no such thing, and I know I have a lot of money, but there's no such thing as shameful work. If you're a man and you're getting up and you're working, doesn't matter what it is, we need people who do these jobs, and I have absolute respect for you. And when I talk about escaping the matrix, I'm not saying that, if you're working a normal job, you suck. I'm not saying that. I'm saying if you want to live the life I live and you want to have all the things I have, then you have to escape. Of course, it's going to be difficult, but I have absolute respect for anyone who gets up in the morning and faces their demons and gets it done, because life as a man is fucking hard. It is really hard to do.
Final topic before we wrap up.
Sure.
America. Do you follow the political climate in U.S.?
I have recently become apolitical. I have so little faith in either side of the system that I am now absolutely and utterly apolitical. I do not have any opinions on anything. I'm an apolitical person because I feel like it's two sides of the same coin. That's my opinion.
Doesn't matter who it is.
I don't
Left,
think
right, middle, it's the same thing.
I think from an ideological perspective, it's nice to have certain figures because it certainly inspires the morale of the sensible as opposed to the morale of the insane. I believe that. However, I believe that the power structures are set up in such a way that the president doesn't truly matter. I don't know if you saw, there's an interview with Putin when Trump first became president. You can find it on YouTube. He said something very interesting. And he said, what do you think about Trump? Trump has all these ideas about Russia and how he wants to change the world, etc. And Putin said, I think he said 4. I've sat through 4 US presidents so far. They all come with very interesting ideas. And then the men with the black suits and the briefcases come and explain to them how things are done. And then they leave and I'm still here and nothing really changes. Putin said it. Putin understands. And I think for this reason, winning a vote is nice to say ha-ha to the other side. Winning a vote is nice to say, look, there's still some common sense in the world. It's certainly a morale boost from the actual skin and bones, from the actual blood and grit of how it would change society. I don't think it changes anything. And for that reason, and because I don't want to be suicided, I am absolutely not apolitical. I'm apolitical.
Do you put him as the most powerful man in the world, Putin? Is he at the top or you put Xi ahead of him?
My view on Putin is very controversial. Do I wrap this up with this? I think Putin is misunderstood. I think he's a misunderstood man. I think that he's been in power for a very long time. I think he's extremely smart. I think he genuinely cares about Russia and Russians above other countries. We're living in a world now where it's very interesting to see European leaders self-implode and self-destruct their own gas prices, their own governments, their own businesses, their own populace's living standards because of some idealistic notion that they need to help a nation that they have no direct link to. If I'm a leader of X country, I should be concerned about X country more than I'm concerned about the plight of whatever country. That's my duty and job. I think it's very interesting that most politicians in the world today don't seem to give a shit at all about their constituents. They care about aligning themselves to higher ideologies and self-imploding their own countries and the living standards for this ideology.
Yeah.
Putin doesn't do that. It's Russia first, Russia. Russians, Russia. Russians, Russian. And for that, I respect him. Most other countries don't do that and won't do that. So I find that very, very interesting about him. I think the current situation is absolutely and utterly unfortunate. I think what happened is terrible. War on all sides is always terrible. I think it's unfair that we discussed Ukraine at length when this has been happening across the Middle East and Africa for decades. Nobody ever gave a shit. But now people seem to give a shit about proxy wars and unfair conflicts and people dying. It's always been happening and nobody cared because they're brown or black. But now we care because they're white Europeans and their chicks are hot. So I think there's a degree of hypocrisy there. He's certainly not the bad guy everyone's saying he is. He has a point, and his point is logical and it makes sense, and he has a point to defend. And I think that to a degree he was forced into make the moves he was made. And
do you have a unique perspective with Ukraine being a neighboring of your Romania and like Zelensky and Putin going back and forward?
It is unique. Yeah, like there's obviously good and bad on both sides. Nobody's completely innocent, and those are the worst kind of conflicts because when you have a good guy and a bad guy, it's simple, right? But life's never that simple. One guy A has some good points and some bad points. Guy B has some good points and some bad points. Innocents always suffer in the end. The people at the top don't even suffer, and it's really unfortunate. War's always been the same. World War II is the same. The generals sit and have dinner after millions have been massacred. It's unfortunate, and this is another thing I talk about. Life as a man and status. If you get to become a general, you know, you can participate in the battle, but if you lose, you just surrender and you have to get to have a steak with the Russians and get to go home. If you're at the bottom, you have to die with an artillery shell. So it's all once again about status. It's really unfortunate, but I certainly think that Putin is definitely not a stupid man. And I think the narrative that they point that he's some madman is bullshit. He's not crazy. He's not a madman. He's a very logical actor with points that not many people know or consider or understand why he's doing what he does. But I respect that he believes in Russia and sticks up for Russians. And I think that any leader of any country should do that. I think I'm apolitical now, so I can't remember his name. But there was a recent president of the United States who said America first. And I think that anybody who prioritizes their own populace over the other populations of the world should do exactly that. I think that's their job. I think to do anything else is irresponsible. I think the Russians do it, the Chinese do it, the Indians do it. All the other superpowers to come are going to do that. And as long as you're in charge of a country and you decide to vacate the needs of your own populace to please some crazy ideology, wherever it will be, it makes you non-competitive. And on a long enough time frame, you're going to lose. And that's how empires fall.
It would be very interesting if you were to have a sit down with this one president, they said America first. I don't know who you're referencing, but
I
obviously
can't remember his name.
I forgot. I know, but if it would happen to be interesting, I don't know how long this is. Is it almost 5 hours or no? We've been going for a few hours. Okay, it feels like 5 minutes, but to the audience, some people maybe for the first time they're hearing you. Some of them are following you no matter what you say. They're going to follow the content. At this point, coming up, upbringing, band, today, is there any specific belief system you follow?
I'm glad you asked that, because when they attacked me, when the Matrix attacked me, they said that I purport misogyny and I believe in chauvinistic principles and all this absolute garbage. And when they said that about me, I understood it's very important that I create a list and explain to the world exactly what I believe. So without looking unprofessional, I've written it down. I would like to actually say I've written 41 tenets of thing I believe in. And if you hear any that you disagree
41 tenets.
41 tenets.
Interesting.
If you disagree with any of them, I would love to hear feedback on any of them. So these are the 41 things I believe in most. And before I read out this framework, it doesn't matter if you are a Muslim, a Christian. It doesn't matter if you're black or white, weak or strong. I think if any man lives true to these tenets, they're going to have a fantastic relationship with life. And also they're going to be a good force and good influence for people around them. And I think that all in all, they're going to enjoy their experience, their human experience, and the people close to them will also enjoy their presence. So that's what this is about. These are the 41 things I believe in. So here we go. I believe that men have the divine imperative to become as capable, powerful, and competent as possible in this life. I reserve my human right to hold my own beliefs and practice them as I see fit and allow other people the same right to believe and act as they wish. I prefer loving, rewarding, consensual relationships with beautiful, positive, and virtuous women. I believe men and women are different and that each has their own unique and important strengths and abilities. I believe men have the sacred duty to protect and provide for the important people in their lives. I believe men have the sacred duty to protect the innocence and sanctity of their children and reserve the right and responsibility to raise their children as they see best to ensure their long-term happiness and success. I believe that men have the sacred duty to raise strong, capable, and honorable sons. I believe that men have the sacred duty to raise kind, feminine, and virtuous daughters. I utterly disapprove of violence within romantic or familiar relationships. I support good and honest governments and will obey their laws. I prefer to only conduct business dealings with trusted and vetted brothers. I believe that a man has the sacred duty to hold true to his word and do exactly what he says he will do. I believe that a man's life is difficult and that he has the sacred duty to become strong to handle such difficulty. I believe men are personally responsible for their actions and for the results they achieve in their lives. I believe in emotional control and the vital need to become disciplined and professional in all things. I believe that men have the sacred duty to approach everything in life from a position of strength. I believe that all men have the sacred duty to become men of upright and virtuous character and live above all possible reproach. I believe it is incumbent upon me to ruthlessly identify my own weaknesses and limitations, and I eagerly work to overcome them and become more capable in all realms. I seek to improve my personal freedom to think, act, and live true to my masculine imperative in all ways. I believe each man has a sacred duty to mold the physical body into the strongest, most resilient, and most capable version of itself. I believe that men have the sacred duty to rigorously train themselves, both physically and mentally, every day. I believe that I have the sacred duty to only eat the highest quality foods possible. I reserve the right to protect the sanctity of my bloodstream